Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is just afternoon, but in North Carolina, it's four hours, 5 hours later.
4 o'clock.
Okay, so
Ready for my nap, okay?
yeah, it looks looks nice out there. We're talking with Pat Stone today of GreenPrints, and so tell you a little bit about Pat. I know him through the Garden Writers Association. We've been hanging out for a few years. Actually, I think at the first one for me was Portland, and somehow we ended up playing music at a hydroponic store, sitting on bags of Pro Mix and making music, and then we've been doing that ever since then. So, been at that for a
I
while.
need to tell you, our impromptu group is called Fish and the Guppies. Fish because he's the only one of us who's any good. And Dan Hines and I are the Guppies, which is more like the groupies. We just kind of bang along, and he takes all the hot licks. So he's not giving you the full scoop there.
Well, and how that got started is at the first Garden Writers, they asked on the registration for a nickname, and my nickname's always been Fish. So I put that on there. So they put that on the name tag. It was Giant, so everybody called me that. So and that's fine. So Pat Stone is the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Gardener's Soul, which was in that Chicken Soup series. He's the editor and publisher and a creator of GreenPrints, known as the Weeder's Digest. I love that. Over 25 years of that, so that's pretty awesome. He's located in Fairview, North Carolina, down there in America. And GreenPrints, the little blurb tells us, it shares the absolute best true stories of gardeners from all across the country. It's the most inspiring, humorous, and heartfelt gardening magazine of them all. There's nothing else like it. We're no spring seedling either, been at it for 25 years. So we'll be reading some things from GreenPrints today. It is a cute little magazine. You can, it's like Reader's Digest. You just read the short stories and a quick way to go. Some you will laugh your guts out. You'll laugh out loud, and some of them, I must say, I get a little choked up. So laugh or cry, it's all good.
There you go. Pluck those heartstrings.
Oh gosh, yeah. So Pat, welcome. Thanks so much for taking time. Looks like a beautiful day down there in America.
America.
We're not in America, here in Alaska.
No, you're not in America. It's a beautiful day. It's been a gorgeous spring. There's some trees are blooming better than almost ever. It's just very fantastic. Yep.
Well, that's interesting because it's been a little slow for us. I was just at the garden yesterday, first time in weeks, and a special plant we have, an Anemone Transilvania. It's a beautiful kind of daisy type of flower, beautiful thing. Years ago, it had bloomed middle of April. It just bloomed now, so it's a week to 10 days later. So we're still having a bit of snow melt, but it's warming up. It's in the, I think, the 50s today, and pretty sunny. But we don't see green leaves yet.
Well, we're seeing the green leaves. The trees are like flowers. They're all the leaves in different colors, different shades of green. And they're at that last stage where they haven't leafed out too much. You can still see the frame of the tree and the limbs and the leaves at the same time. They're like a tree drawn by a little kid. It's really one of my favorite stages of spring. And the nice thing is you can change altitude to change where you are in spring. So on Monday, I'm going to hike up a couple thousand feet higher, and I'll go further back in time, right? Which is a great thing about, what you must have too, to have mountains where you can change the time of year you're in.
Definitely, yeah. When you're in a nice area there, you say you're near outside of Asheville area. It sounds like it's a nice little town, and you have access to a lot of outdoor stuff there.
Well, talking to someone from Alaska, I put my hat to you. I'll wear my hat and tip it. But basically, yes, it is nice. I'm very blessed.
All right. Well, good. Well, Pat, let's give them a taste of GreenPrints.
Okay.
Are you ready for the Obsessed Gardener?
Let me show my cover so they release a little out of it. And let me just give a real brief summary. GreenPrints is, like Fish said, a Weeder's Digest. It's people's personal, true garden stories. I used to be the garden editor at Mother Earth News magazine. I was there for a dozen years telling people when to plant their broccoli or prune their raspberries, and then they fired us all. Moved to New York, although it got resurrected. Now it's good again. So I was trying to figure out what to do. I didn't want to move. I want to keep my family here in Fairview where I live. It's a great community. And I thought, well, I'll create a garden magazine, you know, but there were 100 garden magazines and newsletters. I couldn't compete with them. So I finally realized I'll start one that talks about the personal side of gardening, the inner rewards of gardening, not the recipes of gardening. The recipes are crucial. You got to have them. But the relationship of gardening is one of the big reasons we garden, for the internal rewards, the heartwarming, the joy, the humor of it, the beauty of it, the nurturing of it, the parenting of it. Gardening has so many beautiful aspects to it, the way it connects you to nature for real. Instead of just looking at it, you actually respond to it and interact with it. So I started that magazine, the Weeder's Digest. I've been doing it for 30 years now. This is my 31st year.
Wow.
I have 10,000 subscribers all over the country, including Alaska, who read it and love it and care about it and contribute to it. They come up with my stories. So I just wanted you to have a brief little background. It's different. It's different than any other garden magazine. It's mostly personal things. And people get very inspired by it and touched by it and all those good things. So, all right, now if you want to do the Obsessed Gardener, now we have a little background. Crank
Okay.
it up.
Well done. Well done. So this one is by Chris Woods, and we have a local Chris Woods. I don't know if it was her story, but here's the blurb. It's hard for me to say exactly when gardening stopped being just a healthy pastime and became an all-consuming passion. One day I'm fertilizing a few tomato plants. The next thing I know, an 18-wheeler is unloading 50 yards of compost for a 3,000 square foot cutting garden. How can you tell if you're a normal, healthy gardener or have crossed the line into dangerous territory? Easy. Take this quiz. So I'm gonna let Pat be the normal gardener, and I'll be the obsessed gardener.
I'm the normal gardener?
Yeah.
You're this gardener? You get
Yeah.
all the punchlines? Dang, you better be good. All right.
I am pretty obsessed.
A normal gardener. You won't leave town when your tulips are in bloom.
Obsessed gardener, or your daffodils, your lilacs, your wisteria, your roses, your clematis, your lilies, your hydrangea, your asters, etc., etc.
A normal gardener. You have a charge account at the local garden center.
Obsessed gardener, your spouse buys all your Christmas presents there.
A normal gardener. You invest in fine gardening tools.
The obsessed gardener, you keep spare tools in your car for gardening emergencies.
And this next one's the one that really is really the cutting edge between gardeners and non-gardeners. Normal gardener, you value all living things, great and small.
The obsessed gardener, you cheered when Bambi's mother died. Because deer eat your plants, okay?
If I'm talking to a group of gardeners, they all roar with laughter. If I'm talking to a group of regular people, they all go, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Cutting edge for defining a real gardener. Normal gardener, you have a compost heap.
Obsessed gardener, you take its temperature every day.
A normal gardener, you can't believe you ordered so many bulbs this fall.
Obsessed gardener, it wasn't enough.
A normal gardener, you know the Latin names of your plants.
Obsessed gardener, you use them in conversations with the plants.
I may skip around a little, Skip.
Sure.
Look out. A normal gardener, you are proud of your baby carrots.
Obsessed gardener, you carry pictures of them in your wallet.
A normal gardener, you can crush a Japanese beetle in your fingertips.
Obsessed gardener, you love the sound it makes when you do.
Rich. A normal gardener, you have dirt under your fingernails.
Obsessed gardener, what fingernails?
A normal gardener, you know the pH of your soil.
Obsessed gardener, all your friends know the pH of your soil.
A normal gardener, you've had a soil test.
Obsessed gardener, you studied for it.
A normal gardener, you buy composted cow manure to top dress your garden.
Obsessed gardener, you buy a cow.
A normal gardener, you teach your children the wonders of gardening.
Obsessed gardener, children, who has time to have children?
A normal gardener, you love gardening more than anything.
Obsessed gardener, and what's wrong with that? Oh, so I'll give you a little bit of a taste of some of the humor in there. And so, again, if you're a writer too, you do take submissions, yes?
Oh no, I get stories from writers all over the country. I'll sit down and read 90 of them at a time. They're what make the magazine. They're the heart of the magazine. Then I use 14 different illustrators. They illustrate and make all the drawings for the magazine. So it's like a little art show of portraits of stories. So yeah, no, it's a gathering. It's a community of gardeners who really love gardening and really love sharing their stories about it.
Have you got an image of one of the art pieces from there? I suspect you do.
I'm working right now on the
We're getting a little funkiness, Pat, but we'll see here. There's probably billions of people on Zoom right now. Okay, we're frozen.
So maybe, Pat, if you have one of the magazines, you could show some stuff up until we get Pat back on video.
I don't actually have one handy, but you can see what Pat was holding up. It's a small size, easy to carry around with you if you're heading out eventually here back to the other life we had where you're waiting for appointments and things. You can read your magazine. They're short stories. Just don't be crying your eyes out when you pull up for coffee and you had your heart kind of not broken, but touched for sure by some of the stories. So, well, we'll see what happens here. This has not happened before, so that's okay. So we're talking to Pat Stone. Hopefully he'll come back. I don't know if he can still hear us. He might have to log off and log back on, possibly. But he's the editor of GreenPrints magazine, which is known as the Weeder's Digest. And there are stories that have been submitted by you, by gardeners all over the country and the world. He's got a cadre of artists that he uses, and we're going to show you some of the artwork. And I should have grabbed one of my magazines. There's actually one in my front seat of my car, but I'm indoors here.
Pat, I did pull up his website. If you want me to do a share screen, we can maybe find some of the artwork there.
Let's do that. Good save. There we go. So on the website, you've got the back issues too. There are CDs, lots of awards. I know Pat just won an award at the Garden Writers Symposium for the magazine last year. So yeah, just some pretty amazing art. And actually there's a coloring book that has some of the art. There's the one that's coming up about GreenPrints magazine, that grayscale one. That looks like mom and daughter kissing there. The coloring book is like that. So you could actually color those pictures there. There we go. So that's on the web page. GreenPrints magazine, look that up.
Looks like Pat might be coming back.
Okay, I was gonna text him here real quick, but I think he's gonna figure it out. There it is, the Weeder's Digest. We have some gardening questions.
Hello.
Hey, there you are.
Yeah, I don't see you. You see me? Here, let me push this little button.
There you go. Oh, you went inside.
Well, I just thought maybe my signal was weak, so I'd try something different.
Could be. All right. Well, Stacy went to your webpage, and we're looking at the covers and some of the illustrations and things.
You guys are good. You guys are good. I'm sorry about disappearing.
That's all right. Okay. You have another illustration handy there too, don't you?
I do. I was going to keep going. Should I go back to
It's
the
that-
babble I was babbling?
It's that grayscale. 'Cause I was telling them about the coloring book too.
Oh, good. Sorry to go away. All right,
There
here's
it
an
is.
illustration of the upcoming issue. That guy has a rooftop garden. He grows a garden on top of his roof, and he gets besieged by raccoons. You can see all the electric barbed wire fencing and stuff he does. He's a real high-tech guy. He's going to try every single high-tech solution there is. It's an extremely hysterical story. I'm
That's
very
funny.
fond of it. Another more. The Corvid War: Ravens versus Crows.
Oh yeah. You have ravens too?
I have to get to a little higher altitude to have ravens myself.
Okay.
The woman
That's
who wrote the story has both ravens and crows, and they engage in a war above her garden, and she's the winner. And that's what which is too hard to explain to you unless you read the magazine. All right,
we got ravens. We love our ravens. They're about
Ravens
twice
are
as big as crows.
yeah, ravens are great. They're beautiful.
Oh, they're amazing.
And this is the lawn wars between the wife who wants to garden and the husband who wants to cut the grass. And the wife is Marianne Wilburn, who you may know from Garden Writers.
All right.
Yeah. So
Good.
you can see these are just beautiful illustrations. They're beautiful stories. And I'm privileged to get to make the magazine. In the background is my wife, Becky, who also helps very much.
Hello.
Hi, Becky. We haven't met yet.
Who, of
No,
course,
no,
has to
I
put
don't
up with
think
me
we
all the
have, but
time.
I've seen your face is familiar.
Oh,
Maybe
good.
Pat brought back pictures from Garden Writers
the
or
band, right,
something.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Fish.
Oh, great, great.
Very good to see you.
Good to see you.
She's slaving away, entering subscriptions as we speak, you know.
Oh, yeah. Family-owned business.
This is a great time for us because whenever the economy goes south, more people want to garden. And whenever something bad happens, more people want to read about things that are touching and encouraging and comforting. So I have readers that tell them this magazine helped them survive the death of a child in their family. That it helped them survive surgery, helped them survive loss of many kinds. And that's what gardening does too. Gardening can comfort you when you're feeling upset. You know, going out there and digging and weeding can help you work out that steam and put that energy into the ground and make you feel more peaceful. So that's what my magazine tries to do as well. If you don't mind, I'll read a story that does that. Can I read a story to you?
Oh, let me grab a tissue.
This is one of my favorites.
Okay. Get ready, guys.
It's called A Veteran's Garden. It's by Jim Glazer, about how coming back from Vietnam, it was gardening that really brought him back. And when Jim first sent me this story, it wasn't a story at all. It was a letter, a little handwritten letter of 2 or 3 pages. And you could tell he was trying to say something, trying to express himself, but he hadn't done it yet. He hadn't gotten it all out. So I wrote him a letter with some questions. And I got another letter back that answered some of those questions. And there was more information there, but it's still short. And I asked him more questions in another letter, and he wrote me back another letter. We did this 5 times before he was finally able to open up enough to say what he wanted to say. Veteran's Garden, and this is what it was. My uncle was with the 8th Air Force in World War II. When he got out, he got into growing gladiolas. My dad was a Marine in Korea. When he got out, fruit trees were his thing. I was a Marine in Vietnam from 1968 to 1969. When I came home, it took me years to realize what plants can do for you. I never could talk about the war. Neither could Dad or Uncle Louie, but I was different. I couldn't talk about anything. My wife said over and over, "You never say anything." I couldn't. I didn't know how. I lost that skill in Vietnam. I had it when I got there, but it was gone when I came back. Just about all the Vietnam vets I know have trouble getting close to people. When you're in combat, you form fierce bonds with your squad members. You get closer than you were with your own brother. After a few of these people get killed, The loss is so great, you're afraid to get close to other people. You love your wife and kids just as much as anyone, but you're so afraid you might lose them. You can't express it. You get protective, very protective, maybe even controlling at times. You can't relax and be normal. That's how I was. Wound up, tight, silent, a mess. Then one day, I heard my dad talking to his fruit trees. Well, I want you to know it's very impolite to listen to a man talking to his garden, so I didn't. But that got me thinking. I started my garden the very next day. That first year, I didn't talk to my plants like my dad. I yelled at them. Who do you think you are? I'd shout at the tomatoes. What's wrong with you? I'd rant at the sunflowers. Lighten up, will you? It's over, okay? I was like a drill sergeant swearing at his recruits. Only when I was yelling at my plants, I was really yelling at myself. Those days of yelling at my plants helped me sort out the feelings that were bottled up inside. Sometimes I water my plants with tears. Going to war isn't nice. It's a time where on the one hand you're God and the other you're a scared high school kid. Then when I got back from the NAM, some people spat on me and called me a baby killer. I was so mad, so frustrated, so empty inside. I didn't know what to do. So I yelled at my plants. It's hard for a combat vet to ask for help. But my plants gave it to me. My garden became my community. I cared for my plants. I brought them water and compost. I protected them from weeds, and they responded. They grew wonderfully. After that first season, I got so I could talk to my plants. I could even sing to them, things like the Marine Corps hymn and Broadway tunes. And I would say things like, how's it going? You need anything? You look good today. I learned patience from plants. You can't hurry a carrot. I got to feel pride again. I can grow without a doubt the best early garden tomatoes you've ever tasted. And I wanted to talk to people again, to tell them about my garden and share my harvest. Then I started to think about communicating my inner feelings with my 3 children. By this time, my wife was gone, and I deeply wanted a real relationship with my kids. One where we could talk about ideas and feelings, not just school and the weather. So I practiced with my plants. I want you to know how important you are to me, I'd say. I'm trying. Sometimes I get so mad I just have to shout. I don't know why. I want you to read this book. I think it'll explain how I feel. That made all the difference in the world. Today, I'm friends with all my children. We can talk in a person-to-person way. My oldest, Nikki, is an adult now. We talk every week. My son, Garrett, will finish college this spring. We're good friends. And my baby, Whitney, just got back from a 10-city concert tour with her college singing group. She called me on her first day back to tell me all about it. After I was able to connect with my children, I met Charmaine, the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. And the garden was right there waiting for me when I wanted to practice what I'd say to her. I'm proud now to be a Vietnam vet. I wasn't a baby killer. I was a guy like my dad or Uncle Louie who got his country's call and answered it. And I can talk to people. I've learned that people are just like plants. You treat them nice, they will do the same for you. The Marines sent me overseas, but it took gardening to bring me home.
Wow, that was a good one.
Isn't that a great story?
Really good.
And now he speaks to garden groups. He's become extroverted enough that he can go out and do that. And when he came back, he couldn't talk to anybody at all. So gardens are great. Gardens do so much for us.
Well, that's my tagline right now. Gardening is essential.
Good.
Lost track of some stuff here, and I know that we talked to Renee Shepard, and I'll be talking to Ed Hume this next Friday about the seed business a little bit. And seeds are flying out of the mail order companies. Renee assures us there's no national shortage or global shortage of seeds. They're just being ordered heavily, and you can find them locally, although they might be somewhat depleted.
I
But
actually was in Ace Hardware today and saw Renee's garden seeds there. Her rack.
there you go. That's
So,
comforting.
I wanted to pick up some extra chard. We got chard, but you can't have too much chard, so I almost got some.
Yeah. And so easy to grow too. Well, that's my talk on Monday. We're doing lunch and learns on Monday at noon here. And I'm going to do one called Contain Yourself, because you get so excited. We do a lot of containers and hanging baskets in Alaska because the short season, we can garden. I call it in your face gardening. You have them really close to you on your deck, hanging right when you walk outside. But as some of our other friends we know from Garden Riders, like Bree Arthur with the foodscaping, it's called Foodscaping Revolution. I'll talk about that on Monday. You can definitely do planters with Swiss chard as well as ornamental plants too. So a whole technique with that. And it's Swiss chard is so easy to grow. And even in Alaska, we could probably plant that now in a container outdoors. It's gonna be maybe a week or two before it can come up. But I've already planted spinach. So
Good.
Yeah.
Green is great.
I won't see it for a while, but it's out there. I've got a greenhouse full of plants too. I started so many things this year. I'm just waiting for the weather to break. It's been above freezing every night for about a week or so. We're supposed to get a little cool tomorrow night, maybe down to 30.
Don't fall for it. Don't let it fool you. When is your frost date?
Last frost date traditionally has been May 31st here, so we have a ways to go. But last summer it was so hot and we got a bit of an earlier start. You never know.
You never know.
But you can't wait. You gotta plant stuff. Like our friend Jeff Lowenfeld says too, you're not a real gardener if you don't grow something from seed. Like his other line that tomatoes being the holy grail of vegetables here in Alaska.
Right.
To try and grow those without a greenhouse. So
Well, you're not a real gardener unless you kill plants,
yeah.
unless you commit planticide. And one of the things I learned early on in doing this magazine was that I wanted to survey what you liked in the issue, what you didn't like, what you want, what you don't want. And the number one response I got was people wanted more humor. And I realized that's partly because we all like to laugh, but I also realized that it's because in gardening, you need to learn to laugh at yourself, because you're going to have so many failures and so many frustrations. You know, there's a reason that human and humor and humus all have the same word root, you know. Gardening is an eternally humbling experience, and so it's better if you learn that it might be funny. So I've always shared those. I've always shared a lot of those kind of stories. I'll share another one if you want another humor.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
It has just that theme. The most important tool. The other day while weeding, this is Inez Castor. The other day while weeding, I unearthed the rusty trowel, which got me started thinking about tools in general. They seem to come in two varieties, those I swear by and those I swear at. Among those I swear at are cheap trowels. They're usually stamped out of sheet metal and they bend easily. They not only fail to do the job, they frustrate the heck out of me until I manage to break them. Just then, I glanced up from our weeding and noticed that our normally well-behaved squash patch was tossing like a small boat on a choppy sea. On closer inspection, I found a pair of half-grown black and white pigs eating zucchini with more enthusiasm than zucchini usually engenders. If you've ever been faced with the problem, you already know that it's not possible for one person to herd two pigs out of anything as succulent as summer squash. Believe me, I tried. The only results were trampled squash and hyperactive pigs. About that time, Gene, the owner of the pigs, joined me, and we began to work on a strategy to get the little porkers back on their own side of the fence. We planned our attack carefully while the pigs speeded up their squash consumption. Pigs aren't stupid. They knew their feast was about to be interrupted. It wasn't going to be easy because pigs are noticeably short of handles. Remember the greased pig contest at county fairs? I don't think those pigs had to be greased. Slippery's their natural condition. Jean tells me that her pigs weigh about 75 pounds. They're, after all, baby pigs. I suppose she's right if the pig is holding still and cooperating. Once you figure in the struggle factor, you effectively double the pig's weight. Jean said we'd have to be quick. There was just one minor problem. I thought we would each grab one end of the closest pig, heave it over the fence, and then tackle the other one. Jean expected me to grab an entire pig. The next thing I knew, I was clutching the south end of a northbound pig whose wild squeals seemed to have short-circuited my brain. I couldn't let go. I was flat on my belly when the pig squealed and plowed his way through the fresh heap of rabbit manure we'd piled so conveniently near the squash patch. We finally did get the little critters back on their own side of the fence, in spite of Jean's hysteria. Every time she looked at me, she collapsed into fresh spasms of laughter. Oh, well, it could have been worse. The cow manure is on the other side of the squash. Which brings me back to tools. The most important tool a gardener can possess is a sense of humor. Keep it oiled and not too sharp. You don't want to hurt yourself. Most of all, keep it handy. You never know when you're going to need it.
Very good. Thunderous applause.
Well, that's a good example of why humor is good, because we are going to make mistakes and have things to laugh at. So ever since that story, I've run a little column called the Broken Trowel in honor of that column, that story, in every issue of GreenPrints, where somebody sends in their funniest mistake and I type it up and run it. So every issue we have somebody's stupid, dumb, frustrating garden mistake based on that article.
Oh, that's great.
It's fun. It's great fun.
Good. Well, you know what? Gosh, it's such a great magazine. How do people get their own?
Oh, golly, I never thought you'd ask. All right. GreenPrints, the Weeder's Digest. It's a quarterly garden magazine. Goes out all over the country. The easiest way to subscribe, of course, is to go on the lovely internet, GreenPrints, like thumbprints that are color green, greenprints.com. Subscription's $24.95. You get 4 issues a year, and you get the special issue right off for free, the Weeder's Reader, which every story I've told you we've shared today came from that. It's really a collection of 16 of our favorite stories of all time. So you get that, you get the magazine, it keeps coming and coming. It's really beautiful art, like I say, from illustrators all over the country, just beautiful art. Beautiful stories from people all over. It's really a pleasure, it's a comfort, it's consoling, it's encouraging, it's funny. It's people's true garden stories, which is what garden does for us. So greenprints.com is the easiest way to do it. We do have an 800 phone number, 800-569-0602, 569-0602. Or you can, write into our mailing address and do it that way. P.O. Box 1355, Fairview, North Carolina, 28730. GreenPrints magazine. It's also a great gift. If you know somebody who's a gardener, they're confined at home right now, they can't get out, maybe they're alone, having something to read that encourages them and shares that love and that love you have for gardening is a great bonding thing. So a lot of people give it as gifts. Mother's Day, a lot of people give it as gifts.
And that's a great idea, because we don't need more stuff. And getting a subscription like that will definitely be a handy thing that you can use. I've kept a lot of the magazines for many years. My last garden class I gave out a few of the older ones to people. So I hope you get a burst of subscriptions from Alaska, but people didn't know about it. And I think they were pretty excited. They told me the next class how fun that was. So
I have people that say they read it every night to go to sleep. They read a story, they save their back issues, or they read it in the morning to help them start the day right. People read in the bathroom. It's just they're little small stories that kind of can just give you a little lift every day. And
yeah.
There's a lot of negative news. You can spend all your time reading the negative news and reading the stuff that makes you worry. And it doesn't matter which political affiliation you have, they want you to worry. They want you uptight, anxious, angry, fearful. wound up, you know? And so it's nice to have something that is a counterpoint to that and that embraces the good qualities we have and the positive qualities we have.
Well, you're one of those good people like all our frontline people, workers and health care folks and firefighters and police and everybody doing such good work out there. And
They're in the
you
real-
you can't get a definite answer on things, it seems like. So it's tough. So we're feeling a little disoriented. So I think a little GreenPrints would be a big help.
Good, good. And if you do go to the website, you can see sample issues, you can read sample stories, you can get enough of a flavor for it that you get, because it's a different little unique, weird, odd, unusual, offbeat little magazine. I admit it, it's not a magazine like every other garden magazine in the world that's trying to tell you how to garden. It's trying to show you beautiful gardens. It's not that. It's trying to share this part of it, the inside part of it.
Yeah, and there's nothing like that. So that's really a good one.
Yeah.
I'm visualizing a magazine whose name I won't mention that is beautiful and set up so well. And it's kind of almost a joke in Alaska because they have all this beautiful like outdoor furniture, like super expensive and well landscaped and designed yards and pools and things. A lot of times we're not sitting around on our, expensive lawn furniture because of the mosquitoes. Whatever. We have some beautiful homes and beautiful yards, and we work hard at our yards and our gardens. But yeah, some of those magazines aren't very practical for us. So this one's practical.
This one's practical because we all love gardening for reasons of what it does for us, for the relationship we have with plants. You want a serious story, a funny story? Can I give you one more?
Yeah, let's do funny.
All right, funny.
And Pat, just really quick before you start, there was a question from someone wondering if the magazine was available in an online version, and then also if you ever do any kid-specific stories or have an edition that would be good for kids.
Okay. Yes, you can buy a digital subscription. You can get the magazine digitally. Absolutely. It's a fun, tactile, beautiful magazine to hold and handle. But yes, we have digital subscriptions. You can do both. Two, yes, I have stories about kids, parents, kids, children, first gardening experiences, growing a sunflower overnight because you watered it with milk and fed it little Flintstone vitamins, and you come out the next day and there's this whole sunflower because, of course, the mother put one in for the little girl. Funny little, tender little, wonderful little garden stories. Not specifically written for kids, but about kids. I don't have a special magazine for kids, but I do have a coloring book based on the magazine. I think you showed that briefly, which has quotes and illustrations from the magazine. That good? We covered that one?
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I do.
Well,
All right.
I lost my video here. I'm just looking at the word Zoom, but that's okay.
I see you. You look just as handsome as ever, Fish.
Oh, thank you. You too.
No worse either, All right.
All right.
My No Grow Azaleas by Robert Christensen. Robert Christensen ran a small circus in rural Pennsylvania. He was a very passionate little gardener and a funny guy. Bangor, Pennsylvania, near Delaware River. Several years ago, I planted 8 azaleas to make a hedge alongside the house. There's an old garden saying, give a $1 plant a $10 hole. Well, I had certainly given these $15 azaleas $150 holes. I'd opened up the subsoil for good drainage, mix the topsoil with peat moss and compost, set each plant at just the right level, top dressed them with cedar mulch. They had plenty of space between them. They were in an ideal location. In return for my effort, every spring they lit up the side of the house with a beautiful display of dazzling white blossoms. They thrived. For the past 2 years, though, they hadn't grown much. They looked normal, but they weren't getting any bigger. It was as if all 8 of them had simply decided to stop growing. They definitely weren't becoming the azalea hedge I had envisioned. My concerns were growing. My azaleas were not. It was time to take action. I started by consulting with fellow gardeners. They'd come over for an inspection and find nothing wrong. We'd scratch our heads and then start talking about how to rid the world of rabbits. Next, I expanded my inquiries to garden centers, the local farm bureau, the county extension office. Nothing. I searched the World Wide Web to no avail. Then I began asking my fellow commuters on the bus. Began discussing with all of them while we were on the bus. After a few days of this, the bus driver began including me in his pre-trip announcement. No tobacco, no alcohol, no cell phones. And does anybody know why healthy azaleas would suddenly stop growing? I knew things had deteriorated. The day I stopped at a traffic light, made eye contact with the driver next to me, and motioned for him to roll down his window. I looked at him and said, "Do you know anything about azaleas?" To my surprise, he said, "Sure. What do you want to know?" "They're not growing." "They got bugs?" "No." "They look sick?" "No." "Feed them." The light changed and we both drove off. Unbelievable. Feed them. Of course, if you want something to grow, you have to feed it. I should have stopped at this light earlier. Could have saved myself a lot of aggravation. So feed them I did. I fed, I waited, I watched. Nothing happened. Grow, dang you. I fed them some more, then some more, and some more. I waited, I watched. They died, all of them. They all died because I had fried them with nitrogen. I had created azalea crispies. Finally, I began digging them up and tossing them into the wheelbarrow. A flash of silver caught my eye. It was one of those metal identification tags the nurseries attach to their trees and shrubs. I must have forgotten to remove it years ago when I first planted them. I cleaned off the dirt and looked at them closely. Looked at it closely. It read, dwarf white azalea.
Bada bing.
So he grew these plants that were never going to become a hedge.
That's funny.
Killed them.
Wow. Hey, Pat, the price of GreenPrints got bumped up a little bit. Did you get any feedback from folks about that?
Used to be $22.97, $19.97 for first timer. And last September, printing, postage, everything had gone up. I hadn't raised price in 19 years. Raised it to $24.95. And at the same time I raised it, I put a little note in there saying, if you're going to have trouble paying for this, if this is hard for you, let me know and we will work something out. I don't want anybody to miss getting GreenPrints. And I've had people that indeed did write and say, I really can't afford more than $10. And they sent $10 and I renewed their subscription. I've had a couple people write saying, I really can't afford it at all. And I've renewed their subscription. But the most amazing thing is I've had more people who said, let me send you extra money. Let me send you $5, $25, $50, $100 to help people who can't afford to renew their subscriptions do it. So I accidentally created this fund to fund people who are a little short, having a little tough time of it, and help them subscribe. And that is actually paid for all the subscriptions I've honored. I thought, I was going to take a hit on this, but it's worth it to me. And instead, it's worked out. It hasn't cost me a thing. And it's just purely through the unasked for kindness of our subscribers. Who ever heard of that? A magazine that offered to reduce subscriptions that other people voluntarily paid for them. Who ever heard of that?
There are good humans in the world.
There are plenty of them. But
Yeah.
that's just so touching that I get to be the interface for that and the medium for that to happen.
Yeah, that's great.
I had one person who wrote me and said, here's an extra $5 for you to boost up somebody's subscription or to buy a beer for the editor. They're both good causes. I was very tempted to buy that beer.
All right. Well, hopefully we're going to have the next Garden Writers Symposium, but I don't know that decision has been made yet. And Fish and the Guppies will ride again, but something to plan for anyway, I guess. I know you were an award recipient last year. Got what, the silver award for?
Yeah, fellow. I got elected a fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to give a 2-minute speech. It was great.
I was there. I got a real blurry picture of you with a suit coat and a tie on, which was,
Yeah, it looked good.
oh yeah.
Paul, the first thing I said in the speech was 2 minutes. I can't tell you all the radical, controversial stuff I want to say in 2 minutes. So I put my real speech on the website, which is still there. You can go see it at greenprints.com. And the stuff I really wanted to say. And the other 2 minutes are just, thank people and said, thank you very much, which is what you kind of do. But I was very touched. It was a very nice thing to be honored like that.
Yeah.
You do something as weird, as offbeat, and as lonely as this, because really, me and Becky, that's it. I have no coworkers. And it's such a kind of oddball, take a chance thing. And to finally get honored by your peers for having done that, and they're finding it valuable. I was extremely touched.
Yeah, that was great. Hey, so let's talk about, we talk about subscriptions, books and note cards.
We sell various garden books. Ones that I picked because I loved reading them. They're non-instructional books. My favorite one is The Gardener's Year by Carol Capek, which was written in 1927 by the Czechoslovakian playwright who invented the word robot. It's the only book he ever wrote about gardening, and it's just the most glorious, exotic, passionate description of gardening you ever saw. I think I can find one paragraph from it.
Okay. And I know that word, it comes from robach, which meant work, I believe.
When I was only a remote and distracted onlooker of the accomplished work of gardens, I considered gardeners to be beings of a particularly poetic and gentle mind, who cultivate perfumes of flowers, listening to the birds singing. Now, when I look at the affair more closely, I find that a real gardener is not a man who cultivates flowers. He is a man who cultivates the soil. He is a creature who digs himself into the earth and leaves the sight of what is on it to us gaping good-for-nothings. He builds his monument in a heap of compost. If he came into the Garden of Eden, he would sniff excitedly and say, "Good Lord, what humus!" I think he would forget to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He'd rather look around to see how he could manage to take away from the Lord some barrel loads of the paradisiac soil. He might mess around underneath the tree of knowledge of good and evil to see that it has a nice dish-like bed. "Where are you, Adam?" the Lord would say. "In a moment," the gardener would say over his shoulder. "I am busy now," and go on making his little bed. He was such a passionate gardener. He wrote so funny and beautifully and just obsessively about it that it's still my favorite book, The Gardener's Year. But I also sell others, and I just really books that are just great fun to read.
And the note cards would be featuring some of the art.
Yep. We sell note cards that feature 4 of the covers, a beautiful winter, spring, summer, and fall card. Yep, we do those because people kept asking for them. I'm a slow learner. People told me they colored the pages of their books, because they're black and white art. I love coloring my pages. And I went, oh, color pages. And thought, oh, coloring book, and finally made one. I'm not the world's best entrepreneur.
Well, you're doing well. I see that we have CDs also.
We have one CD. We sold out the other. Woohoo! That is Becky and I telling the stories and sharing some of the sharing garden songs. We have one song where all the kids sang with us. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I love telling these stories. And Becky, who is really a professional storyteller, she acts out one-person shows of Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks and Maya Angelou. She's really the pro at this. So when I get to do it with her, I get to be with the real talent. It's really great.
That's awesome. I didn't know that about her. That's cool.
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, she go, these hour Chautauqua type performances where you reenact the character and you spend an hour as Harriet Tubman, then you answer questions as Harriet Tubman, then you answer questions as Becky Stone, who knows about Harriet Tubman. It's a moving performance. And I always say I like it when she's Maya Angelou, because Maya Angelou, she was pretty hot. She had diamonds at the medians of her thighs, to quote one of her poems. But Harriet Tubman, Becky stoops over and dresses real country and blackens her teeth, and talks with a really thick accent. And look at her and I go, I'm not married to that woman. not so cute. So, you know, she's doing a great job. She's doing a tremendous performance, but it's less charming than her normal self.
Charming is a good word.
She's great. She's great.
That's great. Cool. Well, you guys got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, we're the music team for our church. We have been for 35 years.
Wow.
Guitar, me and Mandola, we do it every Sunday. Now we're doing it on phone because we're doing phone church, you know, because we can't meet.
Well, that's the thing. I was hoping to be able to do some music with you today, but if I play, then you're muted, and we can't do it at the same time. I tried that with Dan the other day. So there's got to be a way to do that, but I don't have that technology yet. So.
The poor people won't get to hear us sing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a loss. I feel bad for that.
Well, we had one request anyway. Ms. Grickus, excuse me, was requesting something from the Guppies. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. She's been listening to this?
Well, somehow she got onto it, so I've been trying to promote it on my Facebook. And now
good.
these are the talks that we have done, and my Lunch and Learn things are on alaskabg.org. Go to the menu, the little bars up on top, go to education, and then there's a little section that tells you the interviews and the it's like a slideshow that I narrate, and those are available. And so you'll be on there too if anybody missed some of these great stories, and to have you read them to us is pretty special.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if we have any questions, Stacy. I just have the Zoom screen on, so I didn't want to break anything. I'm scared to touch anything.
Sure. I don't see any others in there. There's just a personal question that we can answer. Maybe Pat, someone was looking for a source of organic soil, possibly in town if you had a recommendation.
Okay.
In town in Asheville?
No, this is for our Patrick in Anchorage.
Oh, that Patrick. Well, that's
that
it.
guy. Yeah, I don't know who has organic soil up here, and our topsoil too is not like what you guys have. I don't know. You know, ours was all scoured off by glaciers, and they say it takes about 500 years to make an inch of topsoil. So we're pretty new geologically. It's not like my Iowa black topsoil where I grew up. You get that for $1 a bag at the Hy-Vee store, and oh my gosh, was that beautiful stuff. So we'll look into that for that question. So
5th season in Asheville. I can tell you, just come on down to Asheville. We'll set you right up.
all right, we'll bring a truck.
They'll bring it right to your car.
Cool.
Hey, how about one more story? Do we have time? Do you have time?
I don't know, man. I kind of been through a lot.
I know. You're going to need a soothing beverage after this, all this hard work on your throat.
If you want, I'll do my New Year's garden because it's really short.
Okay.
Little story. It's more for the time of year at the end of December than it is for the time in the end of April. But here we go. And this is my New Year's garden by Elizabeth Ann Williams. It's always been a piece I liked a lot. It's got a beautiful illustration with it. I don't know how well you can see it on our happy little computer screen. Gorgeous illustration. I'm so blessed by the people who draw for me. As we grow older, New Year's resolutions are apt to become more important to us. The accumulating years begin to press down upon us, bringing acute awareness of our mortality. So we reflect on the previous year's disappointments, consider those things we've put off, and contemplate new possibilities. Once the Christmas decorations have been stored away and the seed catalogs start to arrive, I start to ponder. I planted too much anger and resentment last year. So this year, I will replace them with some tolerance and patience. I really could have used some more enthusiasm too. So I add a little extra and plant it next to the hope. I've always wanted to cultivate laughter. Now I have the perfect spot right next to the lighthearted expressions. Perhaps I should thin out the tears. I really don't need very many of those. And I never really liked the frustration. It's so invasive. I think I will replace it with harmony. I didn't care for that variety of judgment either. It's casting the shadow over the kindness. It does complement the blame, but the other plants that are near it are not doing well. I'll move them both to that far corner and be sure to keep them pruned back. I should probably move the criticism back there as well. A person can never have too much peace, so I will order twice as much this year. I will add a couple more varieties of love and put them right here in the front so that I can smell their fragrance whenever I walk past them. There. Now I can place my orders. This catalog says that if I place an order of $20 or more, they will send me a free goodwill bush. It would look so pretty, tucked in between the peace and the harmony. Now if spring will just hurry up and arrive. I better not wait though. I will start these seeds right away. I'll begin them inside to give them and myself a good start on the new year.
Wow, that was a good one.
Sweet, isn't it? You know,
Really?
one of the things I feel like in this whole virus situation is that one of the things that really upsets me is how it's beginning to be a politicized issue among us and bringing back that whole clashing we're having in our culture. And I want us all to remember to try and bring peace and harmony and kindness to each other. That the people who have one point of view have it for a good reason, and the people who have the other point of view have it for good reasons. We need to try and appreciate those and accept what we can out of those without being angry at these people.
Well, I can't add anything to that. That was awesome, my friend.
Good.
Pat, we're going to let you go. We sure appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. And folks, $24.95 quarterly GreenPrints. Get yours today. Give a gift. Give yourself a gift. Appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you, Fish. It was great fun. Bless you and bless all your people. All your people in Alaska. Bless you all. Talk to you later.
All right, take care.
All right,
Thanks,
bye.
Pat.